Alright, we're gonna start off with the PoE trailers. I did see the teaser once, but we'll watch it again. The Nama Kanui teaser that was shown during the Summer Game Fest. So yeah, let's give it a go. Ooh, okay. Alright, everything looks really dark. The lighting and shadow is nice.
Hey you! What's going on?
Alright, there goes the dodge roll from Diablo 3. Like some sort of ice nova. If this is Spark, it looks way different. The little explodey guys that are familiar in Diablo 4. And then you see that ice shot from the top, or that ice nova from the sky. I don't know what that was, but that was awesome. How about that? And then the logo is now updated too. Now it has a little bit of a gore effect to it. Path of Exile 2. Aren't we all excited? Find out more on July 28th. So that's near the end of this month. Alright, so let's go back a little bit and just sort of analyze this. The water effects, it looks pretty much improved. I mean, it looks more clear, or it just looks more like the physics of it just looks more realistic. You can see that the shadow is being casted from the upper right to the upper left, along with the lights too. It's like the moonlight. And then, if you look at the character's fabric, it's pretty much, physics based. Like every time she walks, it sways left and right. And the character model is dramatically different too. That's not the witch. That's a new character. And then you got the foliage and the trees on the upper left, the upper right, and the bottom right. So it looks really nice. This is like probably the highest graphics, on the developer computer. And then you got the ground, which is obviously textured and properly has proper indentation and elevation. So it looks less like a flat piece of ground with a texture overlay. Instead, it has some bumps to it, something called a bump map. So you can see there's tools out there that scan a picture and then determines whether something is high or low, or what the depth is, and then it sort of creates like sort of bumps on the ground, and it looks more realistic, especially when lighting and shadow get projected from it or onto it. So it looks a lot more like a ground with actual height and different little holes in it. And then you got some blood on there, some blood splatter. Alright, so you did see that dodge roll. That's something that was never in PoE. I don't know if it's universal, the same way Diablo 4, everyone can dodge roll. But if it is, awesome. It'd be nice to have an evasion ability for every character. I don't know if it's going to be the same animation like Sailor, Marauder, or the equivalent. Maybe he'll just do a dash or something, or he'll just run really quick. But it seems like we now have some sort of evasion that is not a blink or a quick dash. So this is more of like a roll, just like in Diablo 4. And also seeing the spark, it looks like, I don't know if that spark is cast on like a target, because I know that the previous spark you just cast it and it shoots out, but this one looks like it sort of bounces between targets. So you did see that, like that sort of ice nova looking thing where she slams the ground with ice and then it shoots out in a circle. So that's pretty cool. It's like an updated ice nova. Alright, so that's just sort of like smoky shield. I'm not sure what that is actually. It could be the arcane or whatever that mage protection barrier is. And it looks like the sparks are sort of bouncing off between enemies and bouncing off the walls. And then that ability that she just did right there, she leaped up in the air and then she shot to the ground. That's a new ability, by the way, or a new animation for maybe probably an existing ability. But this reminds me of how it is in Diablo 2. where like things are raining from above. It's pretty cool to see. Uh, some references to Diablo 2 and Diablo 3 in this game, and then Diablo 4 just knocks them down, and then you see blood on the ground, so that's pretty cool. These are also new mobs too. These little guys with the little bulbs of glowing red, and these guys in the dark outfit. They are completely new. Also, just judging by the lighting, it's obviously improved, like softer, smooth lighting and shadows. And you see how objects are sort of projecting their shape and shadows. Like if you look on the left and right, it's not just a hard picture of a lamp or a whatever you call these torches. Um, it doesn't just project like a hard shape. It projects a soft shadow to it. So that's pretty cool. This also has like the aesthetics of like Baldur's Gate, of Diablo 2. It just feels sort of cozy and dark, and you can tell it's kind of cold in that environment, and you can see like the fog and the smoke when you destroy objects like that. So if you look again, shoots down on the ground, smoke comes out, and you can see your sparks lighting just cast across the ground near her feet. Across this little like um, circular rug or whatever. I don't know what it is. And then the sparks are just bouncing off. And then this part's the interesting part right here. When she gets to this doorway and gets locked in, if you look at that, if you look at the shards of the wood fragments, and it pops out, that looks like it was powered by some sort of engine. It could be Havoc, it could be NVIDIA's physics engine, but it's neat to see that the engine's in use currently, or some sort of physics engine is in use. I mean, especially with the way the character's outfit fabric is moving and swaying to, as she moves, it looks like a physics engine is actually implemented in this game rather than a pre-animated like animation essentially for certain objects. So you look at the fragments and the way it blasts open, and then boom, it all flies to the ground. I don't know if there are going to be destructible things in this game aside from pots and boxes and stuff within the environment, but it's cool to see if certain other parts of the environment like walls and doors and stuff gets destroyed. Because I know that there's going to be some scripted animation, like if you're fighting Brutus and he busts through the pillars, and then it shoots out or it just fragments to pieces. That's sort of scripted animation. Although it will have, you can see that it has physics in there. It I don't know whether it's scripted physics. Like in Battlefield, they have Levolution where a building goes down, but it's obviously it has to fall a certain way. It's not just gonna fall and randomly hit different areas, or the fragment shoots at random areas. I think it falls the exact same way every time you topple the building. So, I mean, I would like to see more stuff being destroyable. For example, in Diablo, when you hit objects like random stuff in the world, like tables, chairs, um, closets, and you destroy them, it uses a physics engine. I believe it's NVIDIA's physics engine, or it's either Havoc, physics engine. But either way, when you hit it, it flies around, fragments go everywhere, and it reacts differently every single time from whatever angle you hit it at. That's a remnant that I see from like an old game called, what do you call it? Champions of Norrath. When you hit things, that game definitely had a Havoc physics engine. So whenever you hit a structure like a wooden fence, or you hit a table or a chair and it fragments, it creates the fragments fly randomly in everywhere. So it's cool to see that. Now I hope that they have more breakable objects in the game, or destructible objects. This was just posted 29 minutes ago, and today is the June 11th. So let's see what it means. It's called the Agora teaser trailer, and it was shown during a PC gaming show that I didn't see. I was just randomly doing stuff on YouTube, watching YouTube, and then just posted, and I'm like, whoa. All right, let's go. All right, here goes nothing.
If Exile could see this now. Ugh, disgusting. Foul creatures.
Looks like some sort of Amazonian from Diablo 2. Very new characters. Some sort of like cannibal characters. One's carrying a big ass fragment of a tree or a splintered log.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, look at the two-hander. That's a spear or some sort of like javelin. Nice. Alright. So we should have just go back a little and just sort of analyze what we see.
Exile could see this now.
So, I mean, it looks like, I mean, with Path of Exile, they tend to reference old, ancient mythology, native mythology and history and figures and religious figures. So you often see like things that look kind of like Aztecian or Mayan like, but instead the game company is from New Zealand, so they have New Zealand mythology, lore, history. They got the weaponry, they got the architecture, and they got the creatures from New Zealand. So you see all these really weird looking deities or whatever you call them, and then you got this sort of like like pyramids from the Mayan era or Aztec era. So it's really cool to see. It's one of the reason why I like PoE is because it has sort of a gothic but not only medieval theme, it also has a ancient mythology theme to it too. And it's not just the same Greek god and goddesses, it's from other countries. So it's nice to see that. Some of these kind of sound Hawaiian, like Hawaiian names, like Agarat, Yamahu, whatever you call them, Katava. It sounds like Hawaiian, but it's probably like New Zealand. It's kind of like overlap. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the lighting at the ground and the shadow casting from the sunlight across the walls. Alright, that's definitely like an Amazonian equivalent, because he's more agile and is two-hander, and he swings it like a not like a, I can't say whether it's like more like a halberd. Some spears you use it to stab, javelins you kind of throw it, and then you got this sort of like lance or whatever, and he sort of swings it wide. So that's pretty cool. It reminds me of the glaive in the Lost Ark. So that's really nice to see. And you see that he has the dodge roll. So that confirms that, every character should be able to utilize some sort of evasion. Whether it's a roll or whether it's a quick dash that doesn't use mana. It seems to me that that's now an ability that everyone will have outside of their regular dash abilities on their hotbar. Alright, so he does this a bit of a slam. So I'm seeing several different animations here. So as soon as he goes in, he spins in a wide circle, and he spins forward. Alright, and then he, sort of leaps around, and then he does his, he takes his spear, and then he swings it back behind him, and he swings it forward and hits the ground, and then it throws out like a shock. And then I see some sort of like glacial. So you see a little bit of lightning there that hits in like a cone and it spits out in 3. Kind of reminds me of the I can't remember, it was like lightning strike or lightning something. It's a melee type of attack. And then the next thing he does is he shoots a glacial. I think that is glacial cascade. It looks slightly different because glacial cascade, it shoots in a line. However, it's not like a cone. It's more like a wide sort of line. Depends on how you set it up. Alright, so it looks like he does some sort of hit that does like some shock wave damage in a cone. Do you see that? If you see he hits the mob right there, and it shoots like a wind and smoke, and it sort of knocks him back. I don't know what that is, but that looks pretty cool. Maybe some sort of like knockback hit or strike.
Your mine.
It looks like he hits really fast, and the wind just hurts them.
Abomination.
So I'm seeing more variation ability. So he got like sort of lightning dash. Yeah, it looks like PoE probably wants you to now play more different abilities rather than just use one. Because the way he's just changing between abilities, between lightning, between wind, between earth, between ice, it just, it seems like you're now more encouraged to try different elements on your hotbar. So that's pretty cool. I'm liking where it's going. For me, I'm excited. PoE is one of my favorite games of all time. There's a lot of great games out there, but PoE I've sunk a lot of hours into. Right now, about 2,300. It's not as much compared to other people who have been playing it for years, but I play it on and off, and every season I try to participate. Even though some seasons I will maybe play for like a few hours and then I move on because I'm busy playing other game. But that's really cool to see. I mean, it's kind of given how popular Diablo 4 is right now, um, now you have two games within the ARPG scene who are sort of competing in their own way. They're competing with each other in the ARPG space, but PoE is leaning more in the direction of a more hardcore player base. So players who like complexity, they like depth, they like difficulty, they like to calculate things, and they like to use tools to maximize and minimize the characters. Whereas Diablo 4 is obviously more catered towards a casual audience, more mainstream, a wider player base, people who just want to hop in, play a few hours, hop back out, and you don't have to worry about a complex tree or system or build, and you don't have to worry so much about how will I you know make my character survive. It's you just sort of go through it, and they sort of it's more linear progression to me, meaning that as you go, starting from level 1 all the way up to 50, the content that you face is it goes up, the difficulty, and your character's damage goes up. I think it sort of tapers off around like once you hit 82 or 93 or so. That's a problem on its own, but it's more friendly when it comes to the interface, when it comes to the system, including like crafting, salvaging, and buying things, and messing around with your gear. Whereas in PoE, it's more complicated. It does not hold your hand. There is an encyclopedia, there is a tutorial system in PoE, but it's not quite as user friendly, I would say. It doesn't really, it's there. I don't know how much it teaches you, but this game is a little like PoE is a little bit more for like people who, have the time for the game really. Whereas the more common players that are on Diablo, they just have a little bit time here and there. They have their families and lives to take care of, and they got errands to do, and they want to jump back into they want to play a game, set aside like 2 hours or so, play it, jump back out, and not worry too much about it. Whereas in PoE, you kind of have to commit some time because while the leveling is obviously is not hard, it can be a little bit daunting when you see the interface, when you see the tree, and when you realize there is an atlas, and then there's a mapping system, and you got different layers of trees on trees on trees. It can be intimidating. Personally, to me, after a while, it's not that hard to understand, but for new players, when they look at it, it might kind of be difficult for them. So you got two games that are competing sort of with each other, but not exactly. One's competing in a hardcore space, one's competing in a more casual space. So that's what competition is good. One can thrive in its hardcore space, and one can thrive in its casual space. But then you can play Diablo 4 at a more hardcore fashion, if you want to. But by the way the system is designed, the way the interface is, it's more tailored towards a casual player base. But if you're somebody who's from PoE and you want to play Diablo, give it a shot because it's a great game and it has a pretty deep system. It's not as complex as PoE, but if you feel burnt out from PoE, jump on Diablo 4, have fun, give it a try. And if you're someone who started out with Diablo 4, I see that it's hitting the mainstream audience, people who've never played ARPG or never played Diablo or PoE or anything like that, and they jump in and they're enjoying Diablo and they want to take it up to the next level, try PoE. Because it feels like Diablo is like a prelude to a more complex system like PoE. It's like you're driving like a how do you say, maybe like uh a Nissan GTR, right? But that is Diablo. And then all right, you want to move on to the next level, you drive a I don't know, a Koenigsegg or something, or a Venom Viper, whatever you call it. That is PoE. I mean, people will have different preferences, and these two have caught that audience, that population of people. So I like to see competition. They are both ARPGs. However, they will be the best at what they are designed for. So, um, you know, maybe you be like me and you play both of them, right? One day you play PoE, the other day you play Diablo. It's nice to have variety. So I'm hoping that this comes out really good. So yeah, that is my impression of that PoE trailer. I can't wait to see more. I will be playing PoE 2 on launch, but I also will be in the meantime playing Diablo and trying to max level character, and then trying to min max some characters, and hopefully, if I have time, put out a build guide. But I gotta sort of polish up my characters. But there you go. I hope you guys consider trying PoE if you feel Diablo is too easy for you. Um, PoE's starting to become a little bit more player friendly with the tutorials and stuff, and they're trying to teach new players, and they have more guides within the game or more information. However, it's not going to hold your hand quite as much, and if you really want to test yourself, try some PoE. All right, there you go. All right, have a good one, guys.